Welcome back. Next, we want to navigate from one screen to another. Now, we can obviously create the other screen straight away, but I'm going to focus on the navigation part first. Okay, so we need to have another class that will contain our different screens. Okay, so I'm going to create a new file class, and this time it's actually going to be a class which I'm going to call screen. And this class screen is going to contain just our root. So we've seen that before, where we just had multiple different roots and we just made sure that we have them directly in a clean format. So this class will be sealed, so nobody can actually inherit from it. And then it's just going to have two objects for now, which is the home screen, which will be the screen with the home screen root. And then finally, the add screen, which I will use for adding as well as for editing, as well as for the detail. So we're going to simplify everything here. And this will be screen add underscore, well, as a string, obviously, add underscore screen. So these are going to be the two screens that I want to be able to use for my navigation. So as you recall, that was step number 1. And then the step number 2 was to set up a navigation composable. Okay, so I'm going to do just that. Let me add a new file class here as well. This one will just be a file, and I'm going to call this one navigation. Now this navigation is going to be a composable which contains our nav host and the nav controller. So here fun navigation, which will require a view model, and I'm going to use our wish view model, which for now will be just a view model. So we will need to set up the view model as it always is, and we also need to pass the nav controller, which will be of type nav controller. And I'm going to pass the remember nav controller here by default. So now the wish view model, let's actually set that up real quick. We will need that either way. So I'm going to create a new class here. Kotlin file class wish view model, like so. And for now, our class doesn't need to do much except for inheriting from view model, like so. Okay, now going back to our navigation here. And here I'm just going to use the view model. Let me import it manually. So I'm going to use the one from Lifecycle. Okay, Android Lifecycle view model, compose view model. Okay, that's the one that I want to use here for my navigation. And I'm passing that here, and the view model is far from being ready, right? Because as you know, the view model is taking care of basically the communication between the data and the UI. So that's pretty nice. But our navigation now, as we recall, needed a nav host, and that nav host needs a nav controller. So I'm going to pass the nav controller as the nav controller, and I'm going to say that the start destination, let me actually import nav host, makes it a little easier, and it's going to be this composable nav host. Then the start destination can be our screen dot home screen dot root, and this nav controller also, or nav host, needs a content. So it's not happy with my nav controller here, and let me put that into a separate line so I can read it better. So let me see. It's this nav controller, which is, yeah, that's because it's not a nav controller, but it should be a nav host controller. Okay, So our nav controller is of type nav host controller, which we can pass to our nav host as the nav controller. Good. So now inside of here, we can have our composables, which are going to be the different screens. So screen number 1 and screen number 2. So in my case, I only have screen number 1. So I'm going to say screen.homescreen.root should be the root for that composable. And the composable that it should actually display is going to be our home view. So our home view, if you recall, is the one that we have set up here. Let me see this one here. So currently our home view doesn't require any parameters. We're going to change that later on, but let's just see if our application still works, if we didn't break anything before we go further. So we just prepared the navigation. We're obviously far from being done, but you see our app is still working. It's still loading the right navigation. Well, it actually isn't loading the right navigation at all because we're not saying that it should load navigation. So inside of our home main activity, instead of loading the home view, let's call our navigation and let's rerun our application to see if the navigation is working, because once we know that, we can add additional screens to our navigation and we see it's still working. So that's great. So we have our navigation ready. We prepared our add screen as a the root of the add screen, but we haven't prepared the add screen itself as a composable, which will be quite a big one. So I would definitely say we do that in another video. We're also going to take care of the view model still, because currently we just have this empty wish view model, which we obviously need to extend as well. So still quite a long way ahead of us, but we're really building a very powerful application here. So see you in the next video.